Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joyofbaking.com. Today we're going to make a lemon streusel cake, and this is what it looks like. This cake has 3 layers. On the bottom we have soft and moist yogurt cake. We're going to top that with tangy lemon curd and finish it off with a crunchy pecan streusel. So, the first thing you need to do is to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius. And then you will need a 9-inch, 23 centimeter springform pan. Comes in 2 pieces. And you could use a regular cake pan, but the reason I'm using a springform is when we're finished, you just unclamp it and take it off. If you use a regular cake pan, you have to kind of turn it upside down and you have the streusel on top and you might lose a little of your streusel. So if you have a springform pan, that's why I'm using it. So just put that right in there. And then you could butter the pan. I'm just going to use one of these non-stick sprays. The other choice is just to lightly oil your pan. And then I'm taking a round of parchment paper. I put it in there, just get a little oil on one side, and then flip it over. And that way, I like to have a little butter or, the oil on the top so it doesn't stick too much to the bottom of the cake. So that's our pan. So now we're going to start by making our pecan streusel. So you will need 3/4 of a cup of pecans. Now you don't have to use pecans. Maybe you can't find them or whatever. You could use walnuts, you could use almonds, you could use hazelnuts. And I like to toast the nuts first because it really brings out their full flavor. So I put your 3/4 of a cup, 75 grams of pecans on a baking sheet. Put it into the oven for about, I'm going to say 8 minutes. Really, you can tell whatever the type of nut you're using, you can tell it's done by you can start to smell them. They'll take on a little bit of color, but I go mainly by the smell. And then, I've already done that, but so about 8 minutes, and then take them out, let them cool, and I've already done it, coarsely chop them. So, in a bowl, we're just going to mix everything together for the streusel. I have 1/4 of a cup, 50 grams of light brown sugar. Put that right in there. Break it up. And then I like cinnamon in my streusel. You could use I'm using ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon. You could use ground cardamom, or if you don't even want to use a spice, you could leave that out, but makes it better. And 2 tablespoons, 25 grams of all-purpose flour. And I'm just gonna do it by hand. Just break up any clumps of brown sugar you have. And then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons, 25 grams of melted butter. And just mix that up. Really easy streusel to make. And once you have that all moistened, it's looking good, I'm going to add all my nuts. And that's our streusel. Okay, I'm just going to put that aside. So I'm going to clean up here. We'll be right back and we'll start our cake batter. So now for our yogurt cake batter. I'm just going to make it by hand. 2 bowls, one for the dry, one for the wet. Mix them together. We're done. So in a large bowl, I have 1.5 cups, 195 grams of all-purpose flour, plain flour. To that, I'm adding 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon, 2 grams of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon, 2 grams of fine kosher salt. If you wanted to use a table salt, I'd probably only use like 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram. And I'm just using a whisk to whisk that all together. Now, this cake, I the lemon flavor comes from the lemon curd. I actually, with the cake, it's a vanilla flavored yogurt cake. You could, if you wanted to like intensify that lemon flavor, you could add the grated zest of one lemon, which is the outer yellow part of your lemon. So you could do that. Or you could even add like maybe a half a teaspoon of pure lemon extract if you wanted to bump up that lemon flavor. Okay, so that's it for the dry. For the wet, in a bowl I have 3 large eggs. Have them at room temperature. 3 large eggs is 150 grams out of the shell. And then I'm just using my whisk to break that up. Okay, and then of course we need yogurt, a half a cup, 120 milliliters, 120 grams of. Now I'm using a full fat, like a whole milk plain yogurt. I'm actually using at least what's called in the States the Greek style, which the difference between like maybe a regular plain yogurt and the Greek style, this one seems more like thicker in texture and a little more tangy. So, I mean, you just use plain. And I mean, I'm using the whole milk because, you know, it tastes better. You could use a reduced fat if you wanted to. Just drain off, you know, if there's any excess water. Okay, and just whisk that in. And then I'm adding a half a cup, 120 milliliters, 120 grams of a flavorless oil. So that could be a vegetable, a corn, a canola, safflower. You know, when I was testing this recipe, I decided I also tried it with a half a cup, 113 grams of melted butter. Either, you know, I liked it either way. So if you want like a buttery flavor, then you could use the melted butter. But I'm using oil today. Advantage of oil, it really makes it soft and tender, but I like to store this cake in the refrigerator, and oil, you know, butter, of course, hardens in the refrigerator, so your cake's going to be a little hard, a little more firm, I should say, so you'll have to leave it out before serving, as opposed to an oil tends to keep your cake fairly soft even in the refrigerator. So, like I said, this is going to be a vanilla flavor, so 1.5 teaspoons, 6 grams of pure vanilla extract. And like I said before, if you want to bump up that lemon flavor, just add like maybe a half a teaspoon, 2 grams of pure lemon extract. I think that'd be good. And then you will need 3/4 of a cup, 150 grams of granulated white sugar. Mine is not white because I'm using like an organic cane sugar. Same thing though. And whisk that. Okay, so now wet to dry. So easy. You know, this cake, if you go to the joyabaking.com, either our website or our YouTube channel, I have lots of yogurt cakes. And I actually have just a recipe for a plain yogurt cake, which is what we're making here. But now, and then what's great is you can take that plain and then do all kinds of variations on it, which is what we're doing here. So just stir it. You could use your whisk. I'm just going to use my spatula for this. And yes, you could use your hand mixer, or, you know, if you want to pull out your stand mixer, but it's so easy to make. Okay, well, that looks good. So I'm just going to pour it into our pan. Okay. And then smooth it out. Try to get an even layer. There. Looks good. Okay. So now, lemon curd. You will need 3/4 of a cup, 180 milliliters, grams of lemon curd. Now, you can make it or you could buy it, either way. I do, if you go, again, joybaking.com, either our website or our YouTube channel, I do have a recipe for lemon curd. And the good thing is, you can make the lemon curd, you don't have to make it the day you're making the cake. You know, you can store it for at least a week in the refrigerator, so it's something that you can make ahead of time. And what I'm going to do is just put dollops over the top. And, you know, just as a variation, if you like this cake, what you could do is take it, and instead of the lemon curd, you could use like a jam or a fruit preserve. You know, you can kind of modify it to your own taste, but it's so good. You got to try it with the lemon curd. I can eat this stuff just like that. It's so good. And I'm just going to an even layer. If you want a thicker layer, yes, you could use a little more lemon curd. I'm not against that. But today we'll just have a thin layer. As you can see, this cake comes together really easily. And then, we got our streusel. Just scatter it evenly over the top. You may ask, why do I use pecans a lot? Well, I live in the state of Georgia. We grow pecans here. You can find them everywhere. So, as they say, use local if you can. So just kind of pat that just gently down so it adheres. So now baking. I'm going to say 35 to 45 minutes, or until the toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. The reason I give you like a variation in time is, you know, everyone's oven is a little different. So it may take a little less, may take a little more. But until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean, I do rotate my cake pan front to back about halfway through baking just to get a really even bake. And just as a side note, some people say that their springform pan leaks. You know, I guess the seal isn't really good. If you even think you have that, then just put your pan on a larger baking sheet, because you don't want all that dripping on the bottom of your oven, then you got to clean it. So just a little side note there. So our lemon streusel cake is done. So put your pan on a wire rack. And I did put a toothpick into the center, came out clean, and you can just start to see the cake pulling away from the sides of the pan. That's another sign. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to let it cool just like this for about 10 minutes, and then I'll release the clamp and let it cool down to room temperature, and then when we come back, we will try some. So our cake has cooled down to room temperature, so we are ready to cut a slice. So the sharp knife. Okay. Get in between that paper there. Okay, there we go. Oh, it's wonderful. Let's flip that around. Doesn't that look nice? Really fluffy cake. Let's try some. Oh. So you have that really soft, moist, fluffy yogurt cake, good flavor to it. And then you really get that pop of lemon flavor. You know, lemon curd, really intense flavor. Now, like I said, because the lemon curd has so much flavor, I don't feel that you really need to have lemon zest or even the lemon extract like I was talking about, have that in the cake. But if you want even more, like I said, more lemon flavor, you can do that. And then, you know, the streusel, to me, just finishes off a cake so well with a crunch of those pecans, a little bit of sweetness, cinnamon. You know, this is a really great, I call it like a snacking cake, an everyday cake. Have it on the counter, have it with your coffee in the morning. I'm not against having it for breakfast. You can store it for several days. What I like to do too, because I usually have some left over, is I cut it into individual slices and then freeze it that way, so that if I want to take out just one piece, I can just easily do that. So that's another idea of, you know, if you're not going to eat the whole cake. So if you go to thejoyofbaking.com, either our YouTube channel or our website, there is lots of different cake recipes. You know, if you like the yogurt cake, I have a whole series of different yogurt cakes. There's butter cakes. I have sponge cakes, fruit cakes, chiffon cakes, you know, layered cakes. Check it out. You may find something else you want to try, but you must try this. And until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joyofbaking.com.